Hi guys, and welcome to my first video in this series where I'm just going to be briefly introducing the first part, which is sources of law. I guess this is something we all have to cover at one point, and it does help to have a good understanding of sources of law, especially when you go later on into the more complex areas like EU law or tort law. But yeah, let's get started. So, what are sources of law? Where do sources come from? What is the difference between a law and a rule? What's the importance of knowing the sources of law and the hierarchy of laws? I guess we all need to start somewhere. So, roughly, where do laws come from? The ones that we read about, the ones that appear on threatening parking ticket fines when we receive them in the post. So let's have a look. So I guess the best starting point is always this exercise that's normally done in undergraduate courses where the teacher will, for example, ask, what's the difference between a rule and a law? And if you were very smart like me, you will say, okay, well, one of the differences is actually the consequence of what happens when you break that rule or law. So one of the examples that's normally given is if you break a rule that's at school, very common one is don't run in the corridors, otherwise you'll miss your detention, you'll miss your break, you'll get a cross on your name or a star taken away. You can see that there's a very direct consequence for running in the corridors, which is some form of punishment given by the school. Now, what is a consequence if you assault somebody, if you beat somebody up, if you steal something? Well, the consequence is a lot more severe. And when we look at where are these consequences given and where are these rules written, we see the rules for a school might just have been made up because the teacher was very bored, but laws are often written in acts of parliament. So, for example, if you beat somebody up, you will be subject or liable for an offence in the Offences Against the Person Act and could land you a jail sentence. And from there, we then look at, well, where do these rules or laws originate from? Where are they written? I guess this kind of brings us on to the next part of that little exercise, and that not all rules are laws. And I've misspelled that, I've forgotten the S, but I don't have the energy to change the slide. There you go. But all laws are rules. So, for example, if you're a school or university or a company, make a rule that says don't spend half the day in the bathroom, and you decide to break the rule, that's not going to be you breaking a law, it's just going to be you being a bad employee or a bad student. But rules that are made by parliament or judges in court or local authorities like the council are laws, and there will be a act or there'll be some kind of written power or unwritten power that give these bodies the ability to pass these laws. So if you do want to look if something is a law, it's always best to look at its source, which helps us know how important it is and leads us on to the next section. And I guess this is one way which helps us, and one metaphor that you could use when you look at the hierarchy of laws. So, for example, a rule that's set by a head teacher is going to be more important than one that is set by the teaching assistant, which leads us on to the hierarchy of the law in the UK. So within the UK, a very simple hierarchy is that laws that have come from Parliament, both primary and secondary, are more important than the case law set by judges, even though a lot of the time that you spend as an undergraduate student, or the things that you read online when somebody's prosecuted, when someone is taken to court, when somebody is deported, will be a decision that is made by a judge or an executive body of the government and not necessarily by Parliament. There is a bit of a change now since we left Brexit in that the EU law was supreme but is slightly different. But all these areas, so laws from Parliament, case law, and EU law, will be covered in later videos. So do not worry if there's not that much information that you've been provided on this. That kind of summarizes everything. I'm sorry that it was a lot to take in for a relatively short video, whereas textbooks from schools and universities do go on about it for quite a bit because it is an important topic, but I'll be covering a lot more details in future videos. There is a few good resources that I'm going to put in the description of the videos, and hopefully you'll be able to use them when you are studying. Thank you.